Oh, I left the chair in the background by accident. Fuck. Oh, fuck. ItsOcean. Tally ho, ItsOcean back again with more Month in Entertainment, the series where I talk about all the video games, all the movies, and all the TV shows that I watched or experienced in a given month. Although once again, kind of like one of the previous episodes I did, this one's not so much a given month because the last episode I did was actually an anime special. If you haven't watched that, feel free to go and check that out. It kind of turned out not as good as I wanted it to quality-wise, but I really put my heart and soul into that and it took a long-ass time to make. But today, my friends, I'm back. I don't know why I'm turning around, but today, chums, I'm back with more Month of Entertainment, and we have just gone into the spring. My personal favourite time of the year, so I'm pretty hyped right now. I am full of all those spring vibes. Why do I keep looking away from the camera? I'm full of energy right now, if you can't tell. I can't stop moving. But let's not wait any longer. Let us get straight into the goodness in Month of Entertainment. Cue the intro. So as usual, let's get straight into the video games. My number one choice of media, message approved. And admittedly, while it's been quite a big time for video game releases, there have been games such as Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West. I haven't played Elden Ring yet, but I am thinking about checking it out at some point. I don't know if I will like it personally, but we'll see how it goes. And there's also been big releases such as Kirby, a game of which I haven't actually played yet. I played the demo, but I've not played the full game, because this is my partner's game. This is her game. She got this for herself, so I will be checking that out at some point and potentially making a video on that. But the game I want to talk about right now, the game that has overtaken my life a little bit and I've been super addicted to, came out on the same day as Kirby. And that game, of course, is the one, is the only, it's Tina Wonderlands, mother truckers! That was the worst impression I've ever heard in my whole damn life. Quality content. So yes, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. This game came out the same day as Kirby. It's another reason why I haven't played Kirby yet, because while I was playing this, my partner was playing Kirby. It was a great day for both of us. For anyone who's unaware of what Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is, this game is related to these games. Tiny Tina is a character in Borderlands, and one of the parody things that they have in this game is something called Bunkers and Badasses, which is basically the Borderlands version of D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. In Borderlands 2, they made a DLC that, from what I remember, I think it was called Tiny Tina's Attack on Dragon Keep. I might have got that wrong. But either way, they made this cool DLC with these like medieval things going on, and it was so different from anything else in Borderlands. And it was so good. It was such a goddamn good time that they decided, you know what, let's turn that into a full game, and that's what Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is. The idea is that Tiny Tina and two of her new random friends that she suddenly has just made, I don't really know who they are to be very honest, are hanging out playing a good old sesh of Bunkers and Badasses. And you have been invited along to this session. You're here to check out this game. You are this unnamed, unknown protagonist of sorts. You get to make your character, there's lots of character customization in there. There's 6 different classes to play as, although in the future they are releasing a 7th class as DLC. And the whole story and goal of this game is, there is the Dragon Lord, played by Will Arnett, which is super cool. And he's doing villainous things, he's being a villain and doing all the bad guy things, and you have to go and stop him. And to be really honest, that's basically the whole story. I don't even need to spoil anything here. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I don't need to either, because nothing really happens in this game. It's just a one-shot D&D campaign, and I'm not very keen on that personally. Now, I've not really said this before on any of my channels, but I'm not really a D&D guy. I'm not really into Dungeons and Dragons. It's never really been my thing. So if you were to ask me which game I would rather play, Wonderlands or Borderlands 3, I'd probably go Borderlands 3, just because I prefer that world. I prefer the cool sci-fi world of Borderlands, compared to this fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons kind of world of Wonderlands. But that doesn't mean that Wonderlands is a bad game per se. I still had a really goddamn fun time with this game, and in fact, I am planning on making a video for this after this episode of Monthly Entertainment. One of the cool things that I really liked about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, though, is that they replaced grenades from Borderlands with new spell powers that you can use, and they are super cool and super fun to use. They add a bit of freshness to this series, which is really cool. I'm not going to go too in depth with this game though, because as I said, I will be making a full video on this game. So if you do want to know more about the game, you are interested in this, or you just want to know my thoughts on the game, then I will be putting up a video on that soon. But moving over to the next game that I want to talk about. This game took me by surprise. This game is an indie game, and is possibly one of my favourite games that I've played this year, although it came out last year. And that game is Lake. I recently played this on my Kingfish Ocean channel. You can go and check out if you want. It should all be complete by now. And it is such a zen and relaxing experience. So the idea of this game is that you play as Meredith. She's a woman in, I think it's the 80s, and she is working in the city doing a computer-related job where they're trying to sell this like new computer program, and she's kind of getting a bit fed up of her life in the city. She's kind of like, oh, I'm really burned out. I just want to get away from everything for a little while. And she gets that opportunity when her mum and dad decide to go on holiday. Her dad, however, is a postman in their local town. So because her dad's a mailman, she decides to take the opportunity to fill in for him as a mailman. Meredith takes the opportunity of filling in for her dad, and going back to her hometown, which she hasn't been to in like 10 plus years. It's been a long time since she's been there. So when you get to, there's all these cool characters, there's all these people she used to know, all these people that knew her when she was a child. You get to meet them, you get to meet other characters that are there as well, all while driving around in your mail truck, delivering the mail. And that is basically the gameplay. You drive around, you deliver letters, you deliver packages, and sometimes you'll chat to some characters. Because of the lovely environments, being out in the middle of nowhere in this small town, with this big ass lake in the middle, which is why it's called Lake, driving about every day, I just found this game so relaxing, so goddamn zen, and I loved it. I loved my time with this game. It's definitely going to be one of those games that you'll either love or hate. After all, as I mentioned, all you are doing in this game is driving around delivering the mail. So I could see some people not enjoying that kind of experience. If you do want a bit more gameplay, some more mechanics, more going on overall, you might not like this game exactly, but if you do like the sound of a really chill zen experience where you can just sit back, drive around delivering some mail, getting to know people and maybe even getting a smooch or two, then I definitely recommend checking out Lake. So moving on over now to the movies. And the first one I want to talk about today actually was supposed to be in a previous episode of Monthly Entertainment, but I ended up shuffling things around a little bit, so it's ended up in this episode. And that movie is... one second. Josie, the Tiger and the Fish. I always get the title mixed up. I always think of it as Josie the Fish and the King, Josie the Kingfish and the Tiger and the fucking Terry the Tiger. They're great. But yes, Josie the Tiger and the Fish. I'm gonna have to do that every single time because I forget the name every single time. This was an anime movie that I checked out recently and I thought it was really, really good. The story is all about two teenage characters. An anime doing a story about teenage characters? What? I can't remember the name of the characters for some reason. I've completely forgotten all the names. So I'm just going to say boy and girl. So you have this boy who is this deep sea diver. He loves diving. He loves getting deep into the sea and just exploring everything. And he also works at, I think it's like a marine equipment shop. I can't remember the actual term for the shop. And one day, he's on his way home from work when suddenly he hears a shout. A girl is shouting, she's screaming for help. She's like, ah, no, please, ah, someone stop it, someone help, ah. And confused, he turns and looks up the street. Find a girl in a wheelchair just hurtling down the road. The wheelchair eventually kind of buckles and she goes flying out. And luckily for her, he manages to catch her and break her fall. This is Josie. I don't know why I said I can't remember the name of the characters when one of the characters' names is in the title. Josie is cared for by her grandmother, but her grandmother kind of wants some time to herself. She never really gets to go out and do much for herself because she's always looking after Josie. So the grandma asks the boy if he can look after Josie during the daytime for money. But Josie is kind of this strong, independent character that really doesn't want any help. She just wants to get on with her day. She doesn't want this random boy just coming into her home and suddenly dealing with all of these things that are very personal and very intimate to her. So she's rude to him. He's getting annoyed. He's like, can't be fucking bothered. I'm out. I'm gonna head out. But of course, as these kinds of stories go, eventually the two start to form a beautiful friendship and go on a wonderful journey of sorts together. And that's basically what this movie is about, and I thought it was really cool. Now, I'll admit, when it comes to anime, I'm a sucker for these stories, but I really enjoyed it. I thought the scenery and the animation was really beautiful, I thought the friendship was really beautiful, and I thought overall it was a pretty good film. So yeah, if you're interested, go and check that out. That is Josie the Tiger and the Fish. So moving over to the second movie that I want to talk about, and this one has Ryan Reynolds in it. Oh my god. Bad idea. I just freaking gave myself carpet burn on my right knee. Oh. Things I do for hot men. What? Who said that? Huh? Who said that? That was But that movie, of course, is The Adam Project. So this is a movie over on Netflix, and The Adam Project stars Ryan Reynolds as Adam. He's a guy living in a future that has a tyrannical overlord that is ruling everything and causing all these problems, and everything's gone horribly wrong. So he takes this spaceship that is capable of time travel, and he goes back into the past in order to try and put a stop to that tyrannical leader, and to change the world and make everything better. But he ends up crashing in the wrong year, only to find his younger self. I can't remember the name of the child actor that played this kid, but he was so fucking good in this movie. Like, you could legitimately tell me that that was Ryan Reynolds' own son, and I would believe you, because he was so good at that Ryan Reynolds-esque style of comedy. Definitely a breakout star in this movie. Definitely stole the show. So anyway, the two of them end up having to kind of team up to try and take down this tyrannical leader and to change the future. Now, if you've seen any other Ryan Reynolds movie where he's very comedic and very sarcastic and very, well, Ryan Reynolds-y, then you'll know exactly what to expect with this movie. And if you like that kind of thing, then you'll have a good time with The Adam Project. I thought it was a pretty good movie that had quite a lot of heart in it, and I had a good time. To be honest, there's not really much else that I need to say about it. So yeah, go and check that out if you're interested. Once again, that is on Netflix. So we're moving on over now to the television shows. We're kind of moving over. The next thing I'll talk about will be a TV show, but this thing that I want to talk about now goes beyond TV shows, and it is a franchise, and it is something that has taken over my damn life, and that franchise is Persona. So I am going to quickly admit, one of the really bizarre things about me and Persona is I don't like the Persona games. And what I mean by that is I'm not really keen on the gameplay. I respect the gameplay, but it's not my kind of thing. It's not the kind of thing that I enjoy. I tried my best to play Persona 5 The Royal. I got about 60 hours in, and I just couldn't do it. I've tried multiple times with Persona 5, and unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, because I really wish I could enjoy these games, it's just not my kind of thing. Okay, so this is Ocean from the future, because I actually recorded the Month of Entertainment episode like a month ago, and I just want to quickly cut in here because during that time, since I recorded that video to now, I have completely fallen in love with the Persona games. I guess these games are almost like sleeper games for me because I wasn't really into them at first. I've given Persona 5 a couple of tries, attempted to get into the game, but it only all started to click with me recently. In fact, I actually finished Persona 5 now. I have started Persona 3, and I am planning on picking up Persona 4 Gold when I can. And hell, I even went ahead and played the Persona 5 and Persona 3 dancing games. So in this video, if I continue to say, oh, I don't really like the Persona games or anything like that, just ignore what I said. I was a fool. However, I did fall massively in love with the story, with the characters, with the world, with how goddamn charming this game is. And the soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtracks in Persona. Oh.
Destruction.
They are so freaking good. So like I said, I tried to play Persona 5 and unfortunately I just couldn't do it. So I ended up watching the anime instead. I watched Persona 5 the animation and I had a really good time with it. I think it did a really good job at translating the story, characters and some of the side content into an anime, which was actually quite surprising because I didn't think that they would go that far with it. Because I enjoyed that as well, I ended up watching the Persona 4 anime and oh my god, I love Persona 4. I love the characters, I love the once again, I love almost everything about this. I just don't really like the gameplay because it's not my kind of thing. But everything else I adore about Persona 4. In fact, I would say that Persona 4 is my personal favourite. And I also recently started watching the Persona 3 movies as well, because for some reason Persona 4 and Persona 5 anime TV shows, but Persona 3 is a series of movies. I'm not really sure why they did that, but whatever. But I've had such a great time and I have been obsessed with Persona ever since. Because I'm not entirely keen on the games, but I do still want to see the stories and the characters and everything that plays out, I've been watching Let's Plays recently of Persona. And I plan to watch every single game. I actually got that obsessed as well that I watched a couple of Persona live concerts because they do these big live concerts for the music of the games and it's super cool. But the one that I loved the most, that I really adored, is Persona Super Live Bomb 2017. I think I got that title right, I'm not sure. This concert is so goddamn cool in such a cheesy but fun way. You've got the music from Persona 5, Persona 4 and Persona 3 with a little bit of some of the other Persona games mixed in there as well. You've got this super cool stage setup of Persona 5 related items. And on top of that, you've also got dancers that are dressed up as the Persona 5, Persona 4 and Persona 3 characters. It is so cheesy, it's almost like a pantomime concert, but it's so freaking good. I legit was like, yes, this is fucking cool. I would love to see something like this for other games. Like, could you imagine if they did this for Yakuza? If, you know, suddenly you just hear the like Judgment starts playing and then suddenly like out steps Kiryu, two guys dressed up as Kiryu and Nishiki fully in character with guitars and everything. You got Kashiwagi over there on the keyboard. Oh, I would love it. It would be so cheesy but so funny and just so fun. So yes, Persona completely overtook my life this month. That and, as I mentioned, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. So if you are interested in Persona but maybe you're unsure about the games, I definitely recommend checking out the anime, but maybe if you're not really much of an anime fan, then just go and check out the games. Win-win, it's a win-win situation. You've got two different ways of experiencing these worlds. And if you're not interested in any of that, then just please, I implore you, go and listen to the soundtracks, at least for Persona 4 and 5. I'm admittedly not as keen on Persona 3's soundtrack, it's still pretty good, but Persona 4 and 5, mwah. So yes, Persona's pretty good. Now moving over to the other thing that I wanted to talk about in this section, and that is Peaky fucking Blinders. Who do you think you are, son? You fucking muncher. I'm gonna fucking mess you up by order of the Peaky fucking Blinders. That was the worst impression I've ever done in my life. I take back what I said about Tiny Tina impression earlier. So I actually watched Peaky Blinders last year, but the final season aired recently. And don't worry, I'm not going to be talking about any spoilers for that. I'm not going to be talking about any spoilers whatsoever. I just want to give my thoughts on the show itself. So for anyone unaware of what Peaky Blinders is a crime show, a crime-related drama show, set, I think, after World War I. All the men have just come home from war, everything's starting to kind of normalise a little bit, you know, normal life is starting to get, well, back to normal. Why did I say that? Which brings in our characters, the Shelbys. This show is mostly about the Shelby family. And the Shelby family, all the lads, all the guys, go under the guise of the Peaky Blinders. That's their gang name. They are basically working class people struggling to make ends meet. They go out and they do crime and they kick people's fucking heads in and they've got like these caps that have got razor blades in them and they like slash people with them and stuff, and it's like kind of a gritty, kind of brutal kind of show. But as time goes on, they will eventually rise to power. They will start to find their riches. They will start to find more of a status in society. And it's kind of one of the things that I want to touch on with this because I really loved the first few seasons of Peaky Blinders when they were the street gang, when they were going around committing these crimes, doing all these things. They were rigging bets on sports and things like that to try and make profits and stuff. There were cops investigating them. There was quite an interesting dynamic where they were trying to like outdo the cops and the cops were trying to outdo them so they could bust them. There was a lot of really cool stuff there. But then once they started to rise to power, the show started to change in quite a drastic way, but eventually things became a bit more political. I still think the show was really good up until the very end, but I definitely do think that the last few seasons kind of changed things a bit too much to the point where it didn't quite feel like the same show. But another thing that I want to talk about with this show, Tom Hardy is in this, by the way, and Tom Hardy is so freaking good in this show. He plays the leader of a Jewish gang, and he is so goddamn entertaining and funny in this show. He was definitely one of the standouts for me in this, of course, on top of Cillian Murphy. But the show is now concluded, the final season came out, and I don't want to talk about this too much because otherwise there's going to be spoilers and stuff. It ended in a very weird way that I'm not entirely fond of. It was a fitting-ish kind of end for the show, but it's also not the end, kind of. It's really weird, and I wasn't a fan of it. Like, not everything was cleared up because they want to do a continuation of sorts of this, and I'm not very happy about that because I was enjoying the ending, and then they God damn it. So overall, Peaky Blinders was a really good show. I still really enjoyed it all the way through to the end, even if it did start to dip a little bit in certain places. So I highly recommend going checking that out. And thus we come to the end of another episode of Month in Entertainment. It was a pretty good month if you ask me, even though, like I said before, quite a few things on this list actually weren't this month. So I'll admit, one of the things that I've been doing with this series is the whole idea was meant to be that I talk about the entertainment that I have in a given month. So, like I mentioned, over this month, I've been playing Wonderlands. That was this month. I was supposed to be talking about just the things from that particular month. But sometimes I don't feel like watching movies, or sometimes I don't feel like watching TV shows, or sometimes a game like Wonderlands comes along and takes over my life so much that I end up not really playing anything the month after. So when that happens, if there are gaps, such as if there's not any movies or not any TV shows or whatever that I've not watched, instead I will fill them in with other things that I do like or do want to recommend. That way I avoid any situation like I've had in the past where I'm just like, yeah, let's talk about the movies. I didn't watch any. Let's talk about the TV shows. It means then I can have a fuller episode. But another thing that I actually want to do with this as well, I can't play any of the audio because of obvious copyright issues, but I've decided as well that I might not do this every episode, but I kind of also want to throw in what I've been listening to as well. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I've been listening a lot to the Persona 4 and Persona 5 soundtracks. They are so freaking good. Go and check those out. In fact, I can play some of that in the background, so I'll probably be playing that now. On top of that, I'm actually going to a concert in a few days. I'll have already been by the time this episode comes out, but as of recording, I've only got a few days till I go to this concert, and I'm going to see Porter Robinson, and I'm so excited for this. Oh! So my other musical suggestion for this month is Porter Robinson's album, Nurture. This is his most recent album, and I just think it is such a beautiful and fantastic experience. It is EDM music, electronic dance music. Some of it goes a little bit hard, but a lot of this album is actually quite peaceful. My thoughts on this album are that it is the perfect album for spring, and a little bit for summer as well. Last year when this album came out, I was listening to it a hell of a lot, going on long walks, going to the park, going to grassy kinds of areas, and just wandering about in fields and stuff, and just enjoying the lovely sunshine, the spring weather, and eventually the ridiculously hot summer weather. So much so that I actually got sunstroke for the first time in my life last year. So if that doesn't approve the album, I don't know what does. So once again, that is Porter Robinson, Nurture. So anyways, that's the end of the video. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to make a Wonderlands video soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that bad boy. But what do you think of anything that I talked about today? Let me know in the comment section down below. But thank you for watching, I hope you have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Pip pip toodaloo!